Afterglow Movie Net, Saturday, 10:30 p.m., W5FC.
Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Oh yes, it is time for Skynet. Does anyone need to use the repeater before we begin? This is Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray. My name is Net Controls for this session of the DARC's Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy, and our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic. We encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the # break very enthusiastically in your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic at this time? This is a directed net, so please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me this evening, and stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmission. This weekly net operates on this frequency with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using the infamous or famous W5FC-R station ID for Echolink or Echolink node 37247. All topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio video links are available online. Just go to the club website, which is w5fc.org right now for a complete list. And remember to tell others about this popular net. Let's see here. All amateur operators are welcome, and you need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. This net is 90 minutes long or thereabouts and is structured in several parts. We have general announcements. We have Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas, where and when you can look through a telescope. National Space Society events. Discussion topic of the evening selected by the NCS. What's up? Space exploration and space history. Constellation of the week. Space launches of the week. Recent astronomical discoveries. Visible satellite passages over the next couple of days. Astronomical Q&A in the 73 round. We may or may not get to all those segments, but we'll do our best to get to the important ones. All right, let's go ahead and start with low power short time check-ins. If you're one of those, please come now with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from. Let me know if you're, well, it doesn't matter, low power short time, but you can tell me that anyway. Please come now.
Whiskey 5, bacon, lettuce, tomato, W5BLT, Bill, Garland, low power.
This is Whiskey 5 Golf Uniform Sierra Gus, far northeast Dallas, low power.
Kilo 5, Mike, Charlie Delta, Cody in Dallas, low power.
Kilo India 5, Quebec Alpha X-ray, short time, McKinney, Texas.
Get rid of that beep.
All right, let me go ahead and get these folks checked in. I got W5BLT, bacon, lettuce, and tomato. That's Bill over in Garland, low power. W5GUS Gus, far northeast Dallas, low power. K5MCD Cody in Dallas, low power. And then I've got KI5QAX. He's short time. I didn't quite get the name. If you don't mind, could I get your name and your location?
Yes, the name is Lewis. Sorry about that. I missed that. In McKinney, Texas.
KI5QAX. That's Lewis, short time over in McKinney. And we're glad you're here. And check in often. It's Nets every Saturday night. I will ask those who are checked in if any of you have announcements that you would like to bring to the net now before you disappear into the ether. Please go and come with your call.
It'd be nice if you could get rid of that beep.
Kilo, Foxtrot 5, Zulu, Bill in Orlando, short time.
Okay, I got KF5ZBL. Bill, short time. Bill, you have anything for us this evening? I'll ask you direct.
No problem, nothing for the net. Just good things. I'll be home tomorrow, so I'll be back in Dallas for a while. So yeah, so I'm gonna listen to the net as long as I can. It's an hour later here, so it's it's a little after 10. So we're gonna stay for a little bit and listen, and then.
All right. Well, I know you're the jet setter and everywhere in the course of a week, and travel safely tomorrow coming back to Dallas. The weather finally broke. You'll get some decent, not hot weather when you get here, so congrats. Okay, I will take general check-ins. If you'd like to join us this evening, please come now with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo. Bill in Irving.
Kilo, Golf, 5, Uniform, Foxtrot, Romeo, Jacob, Dallas.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda in Dallas.
Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel, Robert Richardson.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Dallas.
Chaz, Third Rock.
Whiskey 9, Victor Papa Uniform, Sam and Allen.
Kilo Fox 5, Oscar Mike Hotel, Ron in Dallas.
Kilo India 5, Kilo Whiskey Golf, Cruise in the crater Crate Clavius.
All right, let's see if I can discombobulate. There's a couple of doubles and a couple of stations that were unreadable. So if you don't hear your call or you don't recognize the order that you checked in, that's fine. I'll get you on the next round. I've got AA5AH, that's Robert Richardson. Oh wait, let me go back up one, sorry. Let's start at the top of the list. I put a little hash mark here in the wrong spot. We have N5BB, Bill in Irving. KG5UFR, Jacob in Dallas, WB50ZL, Brenda in Dallas. Then there was a mystery station. I'll tell you what, I will get you on the next round because there's a lot of people after that. AA5AH, Robert in Richardson, NT5TM, Tony in Dallas, KF5JHA, that's Chaz on the Third Rock. I guess we'll have to guess where that is. W9VPU, that's Sam in Allen. KF50MH, Ron in Dallas. Hey, Ron, welcome to the Skynet. And I've got KI5KWG, Cruise over, crawling out of the Clavius crater. Okay, well, that's fine. The next station I got, I think, was Romeo Zulu Lima. You were very, very weak into the repeater. That even remotely sounds like you, or you were the last check-in. Try one more time, please. I'm going to turn you up to 11 so I can hear you. Try again.
Bravo Zulu Whiskey.
I recognize that voice now. KG5BZWJ near Weatherford. I've got you. You were really weak tonight. That's the weakest I think I've ever heard you, and still been able to hear you. So, but I've got you. I see you over here on Echolink as well. I got you checked in. Additional check-ins, please come now with your call sign, your name, where you're transmitting from.
November 8, Whiskey, Romeo, and 8 WWR, Romy, Great Plains.
Okay, we picked up two more. I've got N5OF, Clay in Mesquite, and N8WWR, Romy, over in Grapevine. Anyone else before I move? Let me look over here on Echolink. We do have some other folks. Let me go ahead and move to Echolink. If you're on Echolink and would like to join us, and I think someone does, please come now with your call sign, name, and where you're transmitting from.
This is Kilo 5, Kilo Tango X-Ray Kelly, coming to you somewhere in the middle of Michigan, about 2.5 miles from the shore of Lake Michigan, so somewhere along the Mitten, heading towards Mackinac Island tomorrow, so K5 KTX.
All right, very good. K5 KTX, Kelly, somewhere along Lake Michigan, headed up the west coast of Michigan. I've done that route before. I've been to Mackinac Island. I think I think you've been there before, but if you haven't, you're going to be in for a treat. And I enjoy Mackinac Island quite a bit. Pretty cool place. Okay, any check-ins from any mode, please come now with your call sign, phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from.
Kilo 0 Foxtrot Echo Romeo, Chris from Southeast Dallas, Buckner Terrace.
Okie dokie, I think I got your call right, Chris. Is it K0 Foxtrot Romeo, is that right?
K0 Foxtrot Echo Romeo.
Thank you, K0FER. I've got you, Chris, over in Southeast Dallas. All right, well, let's get this party started, or whatever you want to call it. Do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? These can be ham astronomical space or general interest to licensed hams.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
And T5TM, Tony, go ahead.
Good evening, Tom. Of course, this is not our last net of the night. We'll be talking about Time Cop from 1994, starring John Claude, plus or minus a few minutes. We also have the MCOM 101 net coming up this Monday, right here in this repeater at 7 p.m., open to any ham, who likes public service communications, you don't have to be a RACES or ARES member. And of course, I have to promote the lecture and lab that I'm planning 2 weeks from today. 2 weeks from today, on September 23rd, we'll be building fox hunt attenuator kits. What's that for? Well, it's a thing that helps you find another radio transmitter, whether it's far away or close. It makes it really easy to home right in on the transmitter, and it only costs $20, complete with battery and box. I hope you'll be able to join us. There'll be a nice post up on w5fc.org tomorrow afternoon. NT5TM.
All right, very good. Does anybody need any pills? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to skip a lot of our lengthy announcements. We've been talking about doing that anyway. I have a long presentation this evening, but I will tell you just a couple of nets that are available here that aren't on this repeater. We do have the Dallas AMSAT Net East every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. on this, well, that one's on this repeater on Tuesdays. And COM N5HYP is usually the net control. Then we have Dallas AMSAT Net West every Wednesday evening at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater. That's at 147.140 megahertz with tail tone 110.9. This has everything to do with amateur radio satellites. It's quite an interesting net, and Tom is very, very knowledgeable. He's been a part of that organization for decades, so he knows all about it. If you have questions about getting started, that is the net to be a part of, either on Tuesday or Wednesday evening. The Dallas Amateur Radio Club has nets every night of the week, including the traffic net at 6:30 p.m., Monday through Sunday, 7 days a week. And then there's alternating nets on Mondays at 7 p.m. Let's see, coming up will be the third week, which should be, second week, which will be MCOM 101, non-denominational net about emergency communications. So come on by for that. That's at 7 p.m. coming up on this coming Monday. We also have Search City Simulation at 8 p.m. Learn about emergency radio communications by CERT-trained amateur radio operators. That's led by net controllers, usually Melissa, KI5GRH. And then we have, of course, the Night of Nets on Saturday, which is at TechNet from 7 to 8, so you missed it. Hopefully that's part of it. Skynet tonight, right now, 9 to 10:30, and the Afterglow Movie Net at 10:30 to about midnight. Let's see. The Afterglow Movie Net information, let me tell you about that. Here's my very accurate description of tonight's net time cop from 1994. Boy, I'm tongue-tied tonight. I don't know what's wrong. Being a time cop wasn't the easiest job in the world, Walker found, when traveling back in time. It was difficult to get paid overtime since it was technically undertime, meaning his time card suggested he owed money to his employer. An incoming call yielded a desperate plea to fix the past or future or present. No one was really sure where or when another crime had been or was about to be committed. Join us for one of those confusing time travel movies, although there's lots of martial arts to simplify the plot, tonight at 10:30 p.m. You can keep up with all the DARC events, nets, and activities by going to the club website, which is w5fc.org. Okay, next up is Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas, where and when you can look through a telescope. It says here, Chaz will take that one. Chaz, KF5JJ, what do you have for us this evening?
Well, the most important thing right now is Texas is up 34 to 24 over Alabama. So that just happened. Okay, I'm sorry. The next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held on Friday, September the 22nd. The meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Texas at Dallas and also held on Zoom. The featured speaker is Lisa Actor from Lowell Observatory. I'm not sure what our topic's going to be, but I believe it's about the library there, and it's an extensive library. Saturday night public observing stations have begun again. It started a couple of years ago after the lockdown for a while. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday nights so that there would be an opportunity for live reports from the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas public observing stations. Now, on the second Saturday of the month, which is tonight, the stargazing is held at Frisco. Do we have a ham radio operator at the stargazing that would like to make a report? If so, come now with your call sign. It's a long way to the repeater from Frisco, so unless they were on Echolink, I wouldn't expect a reply. So check the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas website, texasastro.org, for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing stations. And this is KF5JHA, back to our net control. Should I call you the father of Skynet?
Turning into the grandfather. We've been doing this for so many years, so I don't know. Hey, of course, retirement now, so granddaddy. Okay, thank you, Chaz, I think. Next up is National Space Society events and activities. That would be Bill, says right here. He also wants to give some news items. So Bill, N5DB, go ahead.
Well, thank you, Tom. This is N5BB, Bill. I happen to be the membership director and member at large for the North Texas section or chapter of the National Space Society, a nonprofit which is involved with spreading information about human activities in space and popularizing them. We meet on the second Sunday of every month, so our September meeting is tomorrow, Sunday, September the 10th, starting at 3:30 p.m. in Irving. We normally meet at the Spring Creek Barbecue on the southwest corner of Highway 183 and Beltline. This is across the highway from Irving Mall, and it's a couple of miles east of the south entrance of DFW Airport. This is N5BB. The meeting starts at 3:30, where we just kind of sit around and talk and get acquainted, and then the presentation starts at 4 p.m. A presentation tomorrow will be by Kamisha Simmons, who is a lawyer, and she's going to talk about law in outer space at the International Space Development Conference in Frisco back in May of this year. And she's going to talk about that same topic tomorrow. It's very interesting. As you realize, there's now a new space race with several countries trying to put landers on our moon and eventually Mars, and also even send humans to the moon and eventually Mars. It's more than just the United States. So there's all kinds of questions about, what if somebody's lander is on the moon and some other country or organization lands nearby and damages it? Maybe their rocket, damages it. Or other kinds of possible problems. Who has access to the water near the South Pole of the moon? Maybe there's some advantageous locations where you can see the sun near the South Pole and there's still ice nearby. Who gets access to those? There is an Artemis Treaty that deals with that, but there's a lot of questions about that. So there's a lot of things involved with space law. So you can learn about it by coming over tomorrow. We try to do it's not guaranteed, but we try to do a streaming WebEx virtual version of our meetings also on my computer. If you'd like to visit the WebEx, you can send me an email at n5bb@arrl.net or space@byrom.net, space@byrom.net, and just say you'd like to listen to the WebEx session for our virtual session for the National Space Society's September the 10th meeting, and I'll be glad to send you the registration link. Please do so before noon tomorrow, because after noon I'm going to be busy with eating lunch and setting up for our meeting. That is the only current short-term activity we have going on with National Space Society. Last week, on last Saturday, we participated at the NASA Space Exhibit at Garland City Hall. That was the last day of a several-week traveling NASA exhibit. And we had a lot of people come by the National Space Society tables there, and we were able to help them and spread the news about human activities in space. But that exhibit is gone now. That's all I got for now, Tom. This is N5BB. Thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you, Bill. Appreciate that. And does anybody have any questions? Please come out. All right, before we get started, I'll go ahead and ask for any additional check-ins. Please come now with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from.
This is Kilo India 5, Zulu Oscar Echo, Tommy from Balch Springs.
Okay, we picked up one more, KI5ZOE, that's Tommy over in Balch Springs. Welcome back. Okay, since I'm net control, I get to do the cool thing and pick the topic. So I have done that. And set this up. If you want to look at the video portion of this net, you can go to w5fc.org. There's some pictures there. Over the topic that I'll be talking about, which I stole from Wikipedia, called Extraterrestrial Vortexes, or vortices, I guess. It just says extraterrestrial vortex, with a definition of what it is, and planets that have it, and planetoids. So, well, and moons, I should say, not planetoids. An extraterrestrial vortex, go ahead and put this thing up here, is a vortex that occurs on planets and natural satellites other than Earth that have sufficient atmospheres. Most observed extraterrestrial vortices have been seen in large cyclones or anticyclones. However, occasional dust storms have been known to produce vortices on Mars and Titan. Various spacecraft missions have recorded evidence of past and present extraterrestrial vortices. The largest of these were found on gas giants Jupiter, Saturn, and the ice planets of Uranus and Neptune. So we're going to go through the list here and talk about them. So the first one is, believe it or not, is Mercury. Due to Mercury's thin atmosphere, it does not experience weather like storms or other atmospheric weather phenomena such as clouds, winds, or rain. Rather unusually, Mercury has magnetic tornadoes that are observed by NASA's Mercury Messenger during a flyby in 2008. The tornadoes are twisted bundles of magnetic fields that connect Mercury's magnetic field to space. Next is Venus. Venus Express observed two large shape-shifting vortices on Venus's poles, or polar vortices, in 2006 on one of its close-up flybys of the planet. The South Pole is seen to have a large, constantly changing double-eye vortex through high-resolution infrared instruments obtained by the instrument on the Venus Express. The cause of the double-eyed vortex is unknown, but the polar vortices are caused by the Hadley cell atmospheric circulation of the lower atmosphere. Unusually, neither of the double vortices at the South Pole ever line up and are located at slightly different latitudes. The southern pole's cyclone-like storm is roughly the size of Europe. In addition, the southern polar vortex is constantly changing shape, but the cause is still unknown. In 1979, NASA's Pioneer Venus observed a double vortex cyclone at the North Pole. There haven't been any more close-up observations of the North Pole since Pioneer Venus. Since most of the planet's water has escaped into space, Venus does not experience rain like on Earth. However, there is evidence of lightning on Venus as confirmed by data from the Venus Express. The lightning is different than the lightning on all other planets, as it is associated with sulfuric acid clouds instead of water clouds. The magnetometer instrument on Venus Express detected electrical discharges when the spacecraft was orbiting close to the upper atmosphere. Most storms form high up in the atmosphere, about 25 miles from the surface, and all precipitation evaporates about 20 miles above the surface. And next is Mars. Most of the observed atmospheric events on Mars are dust storms, which can sometimes disrupt enough dust to be seen from Earth. Many large dust storms occur every year on Mars, but even more rare are the global dust storms that Mars experiences an average of every 6 Earth years. NASA has observed global dust storms in 1971, 77, 82, 94, 2001, 7, and 2018. While these massive dust storms do cause problems for rovers and spacecraft operating solar power, the winds on Mars top out at 60 miles, per hour, less than half as strong as the hurricane-force winds on Earth, which is not enough to rip apart mechanical equipment. While Mars is most known for its recurring dust storms, it still experiences cyclone-like storms and polar vortices similar to Earth. Diameter was detected by the Hubble Space Telescope in the northern region of Mars. It consisted of 3 cloud bands wrapped around a massive 200-mile diameter eye and contained features similar to storms that have been detected in the poles of Earth. It was only observed briefly, and it seemed to be dissipating when it was imaged 6 hours later and was not seen on later imaging passes. Several other cyclones were imaged in about the same area. On March 2nd, 2001, a cyclone. On January 19th, 2003, a cyclone. And November 27, 2004, cyclone. In addition, NASA's 2001 Mars Odyssey spacecraft observed cold, low-density polar vortex in the planet's atmosphere above latitudes of 70 degrees north and higher. NASA determined that every winter a polar vortex forms over the North Pole above the atmosphere. The vortex and atmosphere are separated by a transition zone where strong winds encircle the pole and terrestrial jet stream-like characteristics. The stability of these annual polar vortices are still being researched as scientists believe Martian dust may play a role in their formation. Next is Jupiter. Jupiter's atmosphere is lined with hundreds of vortices, most likely to be cyclones or anticyclones, similar to those on Earth. Voyager and Cassini discovered that, unlike the terrestrial atmosphere, 90% of the Jovian vortices are anticyclones, meaning they rotate in the opposite direction of the planet's rotation. Many cyclones have showed up and disappeared over the years, with some even merging to form larger cyclones. When NASA's Juno spacecraft arrived at Jupiter in 2016, it observed giant cyclones encircling the north and south poles of the planet. 9 large cyclones were spotted around the North Pole and 6 around the south. Upon further flybys, Juno spotted another cyclone at the South Pole and noticed that 6 of the 7 cyclones formed a hexagonal arrangement around the cyclone at the center of the South Pole. The data from the Juno has shown that this storm system is stable and has no signs of vortices attempting to merge. The Great Red Spot on Jupiter is by far the largest extraterrestrial anticyclone known, or even cyclones for that matter. Great Red Spot is located in the southern hemisphere and has winds greater than any storm ever measured on Earth. New data from Juno found that the storm penetrates into Jupiter's atmosphere at about 200 miles. The giant storm has been monitored since 1830, but has possibly survived for over 350 years. Over 100 years ago, the Great Red Spot was well over 2 Earths wide, but has been shrinking ever since. When Voyagers 1 and 2 flew by in 1979, they measured the massive cyclone to be twice Earth's diameter. Measurements today from telescopes have measured the diameter at 1.3 Earths wide. Oval BA, or Red Spot Junior, is the second largest storm on Jupiter and formed from the merging of 3 smaller cyclones in 2000. It is located just to the south of the Great Red Spot and has been increasing in size in recent years, slowly turning a more uniform white. The Great Dark Spot is a feature observed near Jupiter's North Pole in 2000 by the Cassini-Huygens spacecraft. That was short-lived dark cloud that grew to the size of the Great Red Spot before disappearing after 11 weeks. The phenomenon is speculated by scientists to be a side effect of strong auroras on Jupiter. And Saturn, each year, about 28 Earth years, Saturn has a massive planet-swirling storm called the Great White Spot. The Great White Spots are short-lived, but can impact the atmosphere and temperature of the planet for up to 3 Earth years after their collapse. The spots can be several thousand kilometers wide and can even run into their own tails and fade out once they circle the planet. Most storms on Saturn occur in a zone in the southern hemisphere dubbed Storm Alley by scientists for its high abundance of storm activity. Storm Alley lies 35 degrees south of the equator, and it is still unknown why there is such a large quantity of storms that form there. It's also along with a storm known as the Dragon Storm, which flares occasionally in Saturn's southern latitudes. Cassini detected bursts of radio emissions from the storm on multiple occasions, similar to the short bursts of static that are produced from lightning on Earth. On October 11, 2006, the Cassini-Huygens spacecraft took images of the storm with a well-defined, distinct eyeball over the south pole of Saturn. It was 5,000 miles across, with winds in the eyeball reaching about 43 miles high. The storm had winds of 340 miles per hour and appeared to be stationary over Saturn's south pole. Saturn currently holds the record for the longest continuous thunderstorm in the solar system, with a storm that Cassini observed back in 2009 that lasted for over 8 months. Instruments on Cassini detected powerful radio waves coming from lightning discharges in Saturn's atmosphere. These radio waves are about 10,000 times stronger than the ones emitted by terrestrial lighting. A hexagonal cyclone in Saturn's North Pole has been spotted since the passage of Voyager 1 and 2 and was first imaged by Cassini on January 3, 2009. It is just under 15,000 miles in diameter with a depth of about 60 miles and encircles the North Pole of the ring planet at approximately 78 degrees north latitude. Titan is very similar to Earth and is the only known planetary body with a substantial atmosphere and stable bodies of surface liquid that still exist. Titan experiences storms similar to the Earth, but instead of water, there is methane and ethane liquid on Titan. Data from Cassini found that Titan experiences dust storms similar to those on Earth and Mars. When Titan is in equinox, strong downburst winds raise micron-sized particles from the sand dunes and create dust storms. The dust storms are relatively short, but create intense infrared white spots in the atmosphere, which is how Cassini has detected them. Cassini captured an image of the southern polar vortex on Titan in June of 2012. Titan is also found to have a northern polar vortex with similar characteristics as the southern. Scientists further found that these vortices formed during the winter, meaning they were seasonal, similar to Earth's polar vortices. The south polar vortex has imaged again in 2013, and it is determined that the vortex forms higher up in the atmosphere than previously thought. hazy atmosphere that Titan has leaves the moon unilluminated in the sun's rays. The image of the vortex shown a bright spot on the South Pole. Scientists derived that the vortex is high up in the atmosphere, possibly above the haze, because it can still be illuminated by the sun. Now on to Uranus. It is long thought to be atmospherically static due to the lack of storms observed, but in recent years, astronomers have stated to have seen more storm activity on the planet. However, there's still limited data on Uranus as it is so far away from Earth and hard to observe regularly. In 2018, the Hubble Space Telescope captured an image of Uranus that showed a large, bright polar cap over the North Pole. The storm is thought to be long-lived, and scientists theorize it was formed by seasonal changes in the atmosphere. Flow. In 2006, HST imagined the Uranus dark spot. Scientists saw similarities between the dark spot, or UDS, and the Great Dark Spot, GDS, on Neptune. Although UDS is much smaller, GDS were thought to be anticyclonic vortices in Neptune's atmosphere, and UDS is assumed to be similar in nature. In 1998, Hubble captured infrared images of multiple storms raging on Uranus due to seasonal changes. And now Neptune. The Great Dark Spot was an Earth-sized vortex observed in the southern hemisphere of Neptune on Voyager 2 in 1989. The storm had some of the highest recorded wind speeds in the solar system at approximately 1,500 miles per hour and rotated around the planet every 18.3 hours. The Hubble Space Telescope turned its gaze to Neptune in 1994, and the spot had vanished, but the storm causing the spot might have continued in the lower atmosphere. The small dark spot, sometimes called dark spot, Great Dark Spot 2, or Wizard's Eye, was another vortex observed by Voyager 2 in its 1989 pass of Neptune. This spot is located approximately 30 degrees further south on the planet. It transits the planet once every 16.1 hours. The small dark spot's distinct appearance comes from a white methane ice clouds which upwell through the center of the storm and give it an eye-like appearance. The storm has also apparently vanished by the time the Hubble Space Telescope inspected the planet in 1994. A total of 4 additional dark spots have been observed on Neptune since the discovery of the first 2. The small storm, which formed in the southern hemisphere in 2015, was tracked by Amy Simon and her team of NASA Goddard. Now part of the Outer Planet Atmosphere's Legacy project from its birth to its death. While focused on tracking this small storm, the team was able to discover the emergence of a giant spot the size of the Great Dark Spot at 23 degrees north of the equator in 2018. The observations taken by this team were able to point to the importance of companion clouds in identifying the storms that cause these spots, even while the dark spot is not present. This team also concludes the storms that are likely lifespan of 2 years, with a life of up to 6 years being possible, and will look to study the shape and speed of dark spots in the future. Well, that's it. This is KE5ICX. This came from Wikipedia. I thought this was interesting, not realizing that there were so many of these vortex or like cyclonic, anticyclonic storms. I'm not sure I can answer any questions, but if anybody does have a question, please come down with your call.
Kilo India 5 Zulu Oscar Echo.
KI5ZOE. Tommy, go ahead.
Well, this is not really a question about vortex, but when you were talking about Venus and you were mentioning the North Pole of Venus, my memory jogged to something weird about Venus and its tilt. So I almost completely tilted around. 180, I suppose, would be completely around, but it's a 177-degree tilt, and so it actually rotates kind of backward, although it's a very slow rotation. My question is the North Pole pointing towards Polaris, or is because of the tilt, is the South Pole pointing towards Polaris? Just random thought, though. KF5ZOE.
I'm not sure it would be either. Chaz, KF5JHA, can you help Tommy out here?
KF5JHA. I'm not sure exactly where it's pointed, but the likelihood of this pointing towards Polaris is not very high. It's tilted to the point where it's probably several degrees away from Polaris. I'd have to look it up, but no, the Earth doesn't always point at Polaris. Over time, it points at different places. The bright star that's overhead right now, Vega, in the nighttime sky, that will be our North Star, where the North Pole of the Earth will be pointing in about 12,000, 13,000 years. KF5, JJ.
All right, thank you, Chaz. Tommy, I'm not sure that answers your question, but it is an answer. What do you think?
Yeah, that keeps me a little curious. I'll have to do a little more research on it. Thanks, guys. KF5ZOE.
Hey, that's part of the fun with all this is the fact that, well, we get to, bring up topics and then ask questions, and then before we know it, it gets into a deep conversation or potential of something else to learn about. A lot of things out there, a lot of new things every day we learn about, especially in astronomy. And making discoveries every day. And this topic I thought was quite interesting. I never even thought about it until I went back and looked at it. Found it this evening, or this morning when I was trying to find a topic. Okay, let's see. Tell you what, I'm going to take check-ins. Chaz, you might want to check your radio. Your audio, your signal is good. You've got a very good signal, but your audio dropped really low. I could hear you, but I had to turn you up over everybody else's volume level. So maybe there's something with the radio or one of your radios. I'll let you play with that for a minute. I'll go ahead and take additional check-ins because Chaz is up next. Anyone else want to join us this evening or have any questions, please come with your call. Your name and location, please.
Kilo India 5, uniform, Juliet, Dustin, in Dallas.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Alpha Papa Lima, Patrick in Dallas.
9, Victor Papa uniform, Sam in Allen.
Kilo Bravo 9, 0 Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth.
Kilo
Golf 5, 0 Mike Golf, Joe in Austin.
BG5APL, Patrick in Dallas. And then I think it's Sam. I think it's a Whiskey 9 Victor Papa uniform. I missed your prefix there, Sam. Is that correct?
You got that fully correct. It's W9 VPU.
Excellent. That was a complete guess on my part. Next is Sean, KB9SOK. I've got you checked in. Let me look over on Echolink. Everybody. Anyone on Echolink would like to check in, I'll give you that opportunity now. All right, very good. We will move on to the next part, which is What's Up. That would be Chaz, KF5JHA. Chaz, go ahead. What's up?
Thank you, Tom. I think Joe from Arlington was trying to check in. It looks like you may have squished him. KG5ZMG, Joe from Arlington. I don't know if he's checked in or not, but he disappeared for a moment, came back, but you squished somebody. I don't know who it was. All right, let me go on with what's up. So, once again, this is Chaz. Is my signal doing okay, Tom?
Yeah, you're coming through fine now. Every once in a while on a net, it's not every net, it's every once in a while your audio just drops really low, but it's back to normal now, so I'm not sure what's happening there. But you're okay for now. KE5I6.
Must be the phase of the moon. We call this segment of Skynet Was Up because it's all about what's going on astronomically over the next couple of weeks. That was slide number 1. Slide master is Tom, our net control. So slide number 2, please. On September the 6th, the moon phase was at its third quarter. So the current phase of the moon is a waning crescent. On September the 12th, the moon is at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth at a distance of 406,291 kilometers. The moon will be new on September the 14th. The first quarter phase of the moon will be on September 22nd. On September 27th, the moon will be at perigee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth at a distance of 359,911 kilometers. Ooh, I just heard myself go low on echo link. I don't know what's going on. Let me take the radio. Slide master, slide number 3, please. Still sounds like it's low audio. Comet Nishimura is a relatively bright comet in the early morning eastern sky. It is estimated to be around magnitude 4.5, which could be a naked eye comet from a very dark sky location. Tomorrow morning, it will be located around the back end of Leo the Lion. You'll need to try to view this comet in the next few mornings before it gets too close to the sun. Well, now it sounds like it's regular audio. I monitor myself over echo link. Slide master, slide number 4, the Epsilon Perseid meteor shower peaks tonight with about half a dozen meteors per hour. You can get more information about meteors and meteor showers at the International Meteor Organization at IMO.net or the American Meteor Society at amsmeteors.org. Slide master, slide number 5. On September the 11th, there is a conjunction of Venus and the Moon and M44, which is the Beehive star cluster in the eastern morning sky. Slide master, slide number 6. On Regulus close in the eastern morning sky during very strong twilight. Probably need a pair of binoculars to do this. On September the 16th, there's a daytime occultation of Mars by the Moon. This happens from 1:46 p.m. to 3:10 p.m. A telescope is needed, but please be careful because the sun is close to the Moon and Mars. You don't want to be pointing the telescope at the sun. The times are calculated for Brookhaven campus at Dallas College. Times will vary for other locations. Slide master, slide number 8. On September the 26th, you can observe the conjunction of the Moon and Saturn in the eastern evening sky. And slide master, slide number 9. The sextant daytime meteor shower peaks on September the 27th. Now, how do you observe a daytime meteor shower? Well, believe it or not, all of you that are listening on radio frequencies have the ability to do that. You use a radio. Now, how do you do that? Well, you can figure that out by going to a couple of different places. Once again, the International Meteor Organization, IMO.net, or the American Meteor Society, amsmeteors.org. That'll tell you not just information about meteors and meteor showers, but how to observe those daytime meteors. Slide master, slide number 10, please. September 28th is the time of the conjunction of the Moon and Neptune in the eastern evening sky. You'll need a telescope and a good star map to find and observe Neptune. Slide master, slide number 11. Please remember that there are 2 solar eclipses coming up very soon. A solar eclipse is when the moon is in between the Earth and the sun, and for a very few lucky people on the Earth, the moon blocks out some or all of the sun from our view. Slide master, slide number 12. The October 14th, that would be a Saturday, eclipse is a partial annular solar eclipse for us here in North Texas. But along a path in West Texas and into New Mexico, there's a path where the moon will block out all but just a ring or an annulus of the sunlight from our field of view. The eclipse begins here in North Texas at about 10:23, I believe, a.m. The middle of the eclipse is at 11:52 a.m., when about 81% of the sun is covered out by the moon, and the eclipse ends at 1:29 p.m. And again, those times are calculated for Brookhaven campus. Times will vary for other locations. Slide master, slide number 13. On April the 8th, 2024, that's in about 6 months, is a total solar eclipse for us in North Texas. From the Brookhaven campus, the sun will be completely blocked out for around 3 minutes and 20 seconds between 1:41 and 1:44 p.m. During that time, called totality, you'll be able to see stars in the sky as if it were evening twilight. It's not going to be completely dark, but it'll be like twilight. You should be able to see the planets easily, too. Now, the next total solar eclipse visible from North Texas won't be until July the 9th, the year 2317. The last time it happened, I believe, was in 1878. So this total solar eclipse is a very big deal for us because it happens only about once every 300 years here in North Texas. And this is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide master, slide number 14. Once again, the next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held on Friday, September 22nd, and the meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Texas at Dallas, and also held on Zoom. Featured speaker is Lisa Actor from Lowell Observatory, and her topic's probably going to be on the library there at Lowell Observatory. And, of course, the stargazings have happened again. It's happening probably in Frisco tonight. I have not heard of a cancellation. Now, if you want to find out more information about observing sessions and meetings, go to texasastro.org for up-to-date information about the task meetings and club observing sessions. Slide master, slide 15. Do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions? Or maybe you need a fill, or maybe you have a question on general astronomy. Come now with your call sign if you have a question. Yes, I see over on Echolink that, Joe, it was you that Tom squished, so we'll get you checked in, I'm sure. So, as the moon wanes, so do these words for this segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. It's the only one where humans live right now, and anyway. And until next time, actually I'll be doing another Skynet segment in a few minutes. Keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is KF5, JHA. Hey, you said it. You're the grandpa of Skynet. Tom, it's all you.
Oh, thank you, Chad. I so appreciate your support. Joe, I got you checked in, KG5 to ZMG over in Arlington. So you're officially on the payroll. Okay, next up is space exploration and space history. This is alternated between Brenda, WB50ZL, and Kelly, K5KTX. Kelly is in Michigan tonight, and via Echolink, she is going to give the presentation this evening. So, Kelly, the net is yours.
Thank you, Tom. This is K5KTX. Good evening, everyone. As Bill mentioned, he's on the Eastern time zone. I'm on Eastern time zone, so it's now 11 o'clock, so my eyes are drooping, but here we go. Well, bound for a metal-rich asteroid of the same name, the Psyche mission is getting ready to launch. The spacecraft solar arrays are folded like an envelope into their stowed position. Xenon gas fuel for the journey to the asteroid belt is loaded. All 4 thrusters have passed their final tests. Engineers have confirmed the massive high-gain antenna is set to transmit data. The software is tested and ready. The science instruments, a multispectral imager, magnetometer, and gamma ray and neutron spectrometer that will investigate the asteroid Psyche are poised for action. NASA's Psyche spacecraft has less than 30 days to go before the opening of its launch period, which runs from Thursday, October 5th through Wednesday, October the 25th. What the mission learns from the metal-rich asteroid may tell us more about how planets form. Within 2 weeks, technicians will begin encapsulating the spacecraft in its payload fairing, the cone at the top of the rocket, and the spacecraft will move to SpaceX facilities at NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Psyche is set to launch atop a SpaceX Falcon Heavy from the center's Launch Complex 39A at 10:38 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time on October 5th. After escaping Earth's gravity, Psyche will use solar electric propulsion to accomplish its 6-year journey to the asteroid. The efficient propulsion system works by accelerating and expelling charged atoms or ions of the neutral gas xenon, creating a thrust that gently propels the spacecraft with a force akin to what you'd feel holding a single AA battery in your hand. Technicians recently loaded 2,392 pounds of xenon onto the spacecraft over the course of about 2 weeks. Measuring roughly 173 miles at its widest point, the asteroid Psyche presents a unique opportunity to explore a metal-rich body that may be part of a core of a planetesimal, the building block of an earlier planet. Once the spacecraft reaches Psyche in the main asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, it will spend about 26 months orbiting the asteroid, gathering images and other data that will tell scientists more about its history and what it's made of. This mission was covered in detail on Skynet back in May by our own Billy Cheek, so I'm not going to cover it again tonight, but it will be a great mission to watch. So be sure to visit nasa.gov to keep up to date with its progress. And also, I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of this in case you haven't seen it, but in collaboration with Amazon Studios, NASA is helping chronicle the life and career of retired NASA astronaut Jose Hernandez through an upcoming film, A Million Miles of Space Explorer. For the film, NASA provided technical expertise, footage and imagery, and secured clearances for set designs, props, and costumes. It will be available on Amazon Prime on September the 14th. In space history this past week, beginning with September the 3rd, back in 1976, the Viking 2 lander set down safely on Mars in Utopia Planitia. Viking 1 had landed on Chrissy Planitia, some 7,400 kilometers away, on July the 20th. The Viking 2 mission was part of the American Viking program to Mars and consisted of an orbiter and a lander, essentially identical to that of the Viking 1 mission. The craft was launched on September 9, 1975. Following launch, using a Titan Centaur launch vehicle and a 333-day cruise to Mars, the Viking 2 orbiter began returning global images of Mars prior to orbit insertion. The orbiter was inserted into a Mars orbit on August 7, 1976. The orbiter then began taking photographs of candidate landing sites, which were used to select the final landing site. Viking 2 was operational on Mars for 1,281 sols, or 1,316 Earth days, or 3 years, 221 days, and was turned off on April the 12th, 1980, when its batteries failed. September the 5th, 1977, at 8:56 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, Voyager 1 lifted off from Launch Complex 41 at Cape Canaveral, Florida. Voyager 1 would fly by Jupiter in March of 1979 and Saturn in November 1980. Voyager 1 is now in interstellar space. so far away that radio signals take over 22 hours to reach Earth. It is currently 14.9 billion miles from Earth and traveling at over 38,000 miles per hour. Engineers expect the spacecraft to continue operating at least one science instrument until around 2025. After 2036, it will be out of range of the Deep Space Network. September the 6th, 1996, NASA's Galileo spacecraft conducted its second flyby of Ganymede, Jupiter's largest moon. The Galileo spacecraft mission, which first launched in 1989, was to study the moons of Jupiter and derived its name from Galileo Galilei. Ganymede is one of the 4 Galilean moons because it was one of the 4 moons first observed by Galileo in 1609 to 1610. Through Galileo's telescope, Ganymede appeared as a small moving point which could easily be mistaken as a star. But the Galileo spacecraft, with its many scientific instruments and cameras, revealed Ganymede to be an entire world, complete with its own magnetosphere and even a subsurface ocean. On September the 6th, back in 2013, that was 10 years ago, the Lunar Atmosphere and Dust Environment Explorer, or LADEE, probe was launched from Pad 0B of the Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport at NASA's Wallops Flight Facility, Wallops Island, Virginia. It was the first payload to launch on a U.S. Air Force Minotaur 5 rocket integrated by Orbital Sciences Corp. And the first deep space mission to launch from NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center's Wallops Flight Facility in Virginia. LADEE was a robotic mission that orbited the moon to gather detailed information about the structure and composition of the thin lunar atmosphere and to determine whether dust is lofted into the lunar sky. The probe orbited the moon for 7 months and at the end of the mission was intentionally crashed into the far side of the moon on April the 18th, 2014. September the 7th, 1914, American astrophysicist James Van Allen was born. Van Allen was a pioneer in early space exploration. For the International Geophysical Year of 1957 to 58, he proposed several ideas for experiments conducted by satellites. The IGY was an international collaborative project designed to promote progress in the geophysical sciences, during which both American and Soviet scientists developed proposals for satellites. Unfortunately, Van Allen's proposals were initially ignored by the U.S. After the launch of Sputnik, however, Van Allen's proposals to launch an American satellite were quickly approved, and Explorer 1, the first U.S. satellite, was launched in January 1958, just 4 months after the launch of Sputnik. Thanks to data collected by Explorer 1 and later Explorer 3, scientists were able to confirm the existence of a zone of radiation held by the Earth's magnetic field, which were then named the Van Allen Belt. September the 8th, back in 1966, Star Trek aired its first episode. Although Star Trek depicted a fantasy future Earth in which humans and other intelligent species freely explored the universe on class starships, in the real world, humanity was similarly taking its first steps to boldly go where no one had gone before. Star Trek's influence on NASA was far-reaching. In 1976, thanks to a letter-writing campaign by Star Trek fans, NASA named the first space shuttle Enterprise after the Star Trek starship led by Captain James T. Kirk. If you're watching the slideshow, the photo of the Enterprise is a scratch-built model built by a longtime Texas Astronomical Society member, Jason Ware. finally, this past week, we had a few astronaut birthdays to celebrate, beginning with September the 3rd, 1944, Sherwood Springs, who was part of Space Shuttle mission STS-61B. September the 6th, 1946, Brian O'Connor, who was also on Space Shuttle mission STS-61B, as well as STS-40. September the 6th, 1955, Carl Waltz, Space Shuttle missions STS-51, 65, 79, 108, Expedition 4, and Space Shuttle mission STS-111. On September the 7th, 1939, David Griggs, who was on Space Shuttle mission STS-51D. And finally, today, September the 9th, 1952, is the birthday for Lee Morin, who was on Space Shuttle mission STS-110. And I actually got to meet him in person a few years ago. He is working on the software for the Orion spacecraft. So that's all I have tonight. This is K5KTX. Back to you, Tom.
Thank you, Kelly, and safe travels to you up in Michigan. I envy you. I bet it's really nice up there. I saw your report on the temperatures and that, and have fun. It's going to be great. You can get a little bit of star watching up there. Pretty dark skies, at least part of the way up that way. This is KE5ICX, net control for tonight's Skynet. Next up is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. We call upon Chaz yet again. Chaz, what do you have for us this evening from KE5ICX?
A little bit more trivia. Of course, September the 8th was the first airing of Star Trek in 1966 in the United States, but it actually aired 2 days before that in Canadian TV. Wasn't William Shatner from Canada? So, isn't that interesting? Oh, I want to answer a question that came up earlier. How about the pole stars, if there are any for Venus? Now, you understand Venus has a very thick atmosphere, so even if you stood on Venus's north and or south pole, you couldn't see any stars in the sky ever. But if you could, one pole is pointing toward the sort of starless area in the constellation of Draco the Dragon, and the other pole is pointing at an area of the sky that's pretty much starless near Pictor. That's the constellation in the southern sky that we don't see. Now, which one do you want to call north and which one you want to call south? It depends, because again, Venus is rotating backwards, so I don't know if you want to call one versus the other one is north versus south. All right, on to the constellation of the month. Miss Carolyn's constellation of the month of the week. Miss Carolyn's constellation of the week is named in honor of Silent Key Carolyn, KC5OZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week, almost from its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Since there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen in Texas throughout the year, out of the 88 total number of constellations, so Miss Carolyn covers the entire sky as seen over North Texas in a year. And in her honor, we've continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named this segment after her. Miss Carolyn's constellation of the week this week is Cygnus the Swan. Slide Master, slide number 18, please. Cygnus is the constellation of the Swan, since it is not hard to use the stars of Cygnus to trace out the basic shape of the swan flying in the sky along the Milky Way. It's not surprising to learn that Cygnus has been visualized as a swan by several different cultures in the past. One myth, Cygnus was the swan whose form Zeus adopted in order to seduce the queen Lydia of Sparta. And in another, Orpheus, the father of song, was transformed into a swan after he was murdered. Cygnus is one of the three constellations that are involved in the well-known asterism of the Summer Triangle, with Cygnus' brightest star, Deneb, forming one of the three stars in the corners of the triangle. The other two stars are Vega, I talked about that earlier, in the constellation of Lyra, and Altair in the constellation of Aquila the Eagle. The brightest stars in Cygnus form another well-known asterism called the Northern Cross. Slide Masters, slide number 19, the jokes of the week. I know all of you have been waiting for this. as a question. How do you get down off of an elephant? Well, to be honest, you don't. You see, elephants don't have feathers, but you can get down off of a swan. You see, that's the feathers, like put your stuff in a pillow. I have to explain them, I guess they're no good. A guy said, I'm great at identifying birds. His friend said, okay, what are those in that tree? The guy said, yes, they're all birds. Did you hear the Pope caught the bird flu? Yep, he caught it from a cardinal. I love the sound of a swan makes in the morning, so I retweeted it. What's the difference between bird flu and the swine flu and the swan flu? Okay, for the bird flu, you need to get treatment. The swine flu, you need ointment. And the swan flu, you stick your neck out and wing it. Okay, maybe that wasn't so funny. Why do swans make bad basketball players? Because they're always committing fouls. Okay, slide master, slide number 20. Help me get out of this. Bright star Deneb, also called Alpha Cygni, is the brightest star in Cygnus, the swan. The name Deneb is derived from the Arabic word which means tail, owing to its position at the tail of the swan. Deneb is also the head or the top of the Northern Cross, and as such has been referred to as the Star of the Cross, according to Burnham's Celestial Handbook. Deneb is a blue-white supergiant star, one of the greatest supergiant stars known, shining brightly at magnitude 1.3 as seen from the Earth, despite its distance of about 1,700 light years away. Slide master, slide number 21. Alberio is also known as Beta Cygni. It's a beautiful third magnitude double star. Alberio is considered to be one of the most beautiful double stars in the sky due to the contrasting colors of its two members. The primary star is yellow and the fifth magnitude companion is a blue or a bluish green. These two stars make for an easy, noticeable color contrast, and as such, Alberio is a great demonstration object for showing newcomers in astronomy that stars come in different colors, and that they are not just all white. Another trait that makes Alberio a good introductory object is the fact that it's easily split by a telescope. In fact, it can be split with binoculars if they're held very steady or mounted on a tripod, which is why it is a candidate for the Astronomical League Binocular Double Star Club. Alberio is about 410 light years away, and since both stars share the same proper motion, it is believed to be a true physical binary pair. Slide master, slide number 22. I want to talk about something you can't see with your two eyes anyway. Cygnus X1 is the first black hole to be scientifically identified by astronomers. It is part of a binary system with a black hole and a blue supergiant known as HD 226868 orbiting around each other. Of course, the black hole itself cannot be observed with backyard telescopes, but HD 226868 is a visual magnitude of 8.95, so it's easily visible in virtually all amateur telescopes. It lies about half a degree from the fourth magnitude Eta Cygni. And this is KF5, JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide master, slide number 23. NGC 7000, also known as the North American Nebula, is located near Deneb. The North American Nebula can be seen with the naked eye as a bright patch of light in the Milky Way from a dark sky site. If you know exactly where to look, using a nebula filter held in front of the eye makes it easier to see. Binoculars and a low-powered wide-field telescope is best observing NGC 7000. In fact, it is generally agreed that the smaller, short-focused instruments, like a 3 or 4-inch telescope, are the best, and it can be seen in a 10-inch stop, but even at its lowest power, you can't see all of the nebula at the same time. Slide master, slide number 24. I see 5070 is better known as the Pelican Nebula, is located right next to NGC 7000, the North American Nebula, but it's out in the Atlantic Ocean, according to that, which is an appropriate place for pelicans. Yes, it and NGC 7000 are believed to be two parts of the same gas cloud. It's only an intervening dark cloud that makes them look like they're separate nebula, such as the Great Nebula of Orion, M42, and its nearby neighbor, M43, appear to be two separate nebulas, but they're actually a single cloud split by an intervening dark nebula. Slide master, slide number 25. M29 is an open star cluster that does not stand out distinctly from the Milky Way background, but it might if it were not in the intervening dust clouds. A particular area of the Milky Way where M29 is located is heavily obscured with dust, dimming the stars of M29 by at least 3 magnitudes. M29 would be very striking objects that could be seen without the intervening dust clouds. It's near the center of the Northern Cross shape, or the body of the swan. Slide master, slide number 26, please. M39 is another open cluster, and it's visible to the naked eye from dark sky sites. David Hutchinson writes that he saw it without optical aid. Stephen James Amir also notes that it is visible to the naked eye, appearing as a small fuzzy patch about 9 degrees east-northeast of Deneb. Being a naked eye object, M39 makes a wonderful binocular object, but in the telescope, it requires low power to see all of the cluster at the same time. Slide master, slide number 27. NGC 6826. I guess I'm low volume again. I don't know. Do I need to kick my radio? NGC 6826 is the blinking nebula, or the blinking planetary, in the TASS Spectrum newsletter. The reason that the nebula appears to blink is that because the central star overwhelms the eye. So you look at it quickly and you see the star, but if you let your eye look at the entire view with the eyepiece, you see the nebulosity out of the corner of your eye. You can look at the star again and the nebulosity is gone. In other words, use averted vision to see this object. It's best to see it that way. Keep switching between averted vision and direct vision, you'll see the nebula blink. Slide master, slide number 28. NGC 6960, NGC 6974, NGC 6992, all are called the Veil Nebula, and was discovered by William Herschel in 1784 with an 18-inch telescope. Robert Burnham Jr. wrote that Burnham Celestial Handbook that many observers have seen the brightest portions of the veil in 7x50 binoculars. In 7x50 binoculars, it's faint but unmistakable. Stephen James Amira confirms this. You can see much more of it with a 10-inch Dobsonian. Without a filter, it resembles faint cirrus clouds that are fairly featureless. Therefore, an O2 filter is a must-have for viewing the Veil Nebula. The Western Veil, NGC 6960, is easily found because it appears to be touching the foreground star 52 Cygni, which is the magnitude 4.2, and is a naked eye object and easily visible in a finder scope. And this is KF5, JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide master, slide number 29. I know I covered an awful lot of objects in Cygnus, but there's a lot more Astronomical League program observing objects in Cygnus the Swan. I've given you just a sampling of some of those objects. The Astronomical League has, at last count, 77 different observing programs, most of which have about 100 objects. Now, if you observe just 10 different objects in an observing program each month, then you can earn an observing certificate and a pin in about a year. Slide master, slide number 30, and that is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week, Cygnus the Swan. And I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Orwell for the research and words on deep sky objects that I use, borrow, and steal for every Skynet. I also at times use the website constellation-guide.com for information. Now next week we'll take a look at a twofer, Delphinus, the dolphin, and Equilus, the horse. And this is KF5, JHA, sending it back to our net control. 73, everyone. Have a great week of observing.
Very good. Thank you, Chaz, and very, very interesting romp. Okay, next up is we're going to jump down to Miss Brenda, and she has the recent astronomical discovery. So, Brenda, WB50ZL, what do you have for us?
Thank you, Tom. This is WB50ZL. An article entitled "Ravenous Black Hole Consumes 3 Earth's worth of star every time it passes." A star like our own sun in a nearby galaxy is gradually being eaten away by a small but ravenous black hole, losing the equivalent mass of 3 Earths every time it passes close. The discovery by the University of Leicester astronomers is reported today, 7 September, in Nature Astronomy, and provides a missing link in our knowledge of black holes disrupting orbiting stars. It suggests a whole menagerie of stars in the process of being consumed that still lie undiscovered. The team was supported by the UK Space Agency and the UK Science and Technology of Facilities Council. The astronomers were alerted to the star by a bright X-ray flash that seemed to come from the center of the nearby galaxy 2MASX, the bunch of numbers, around 500 million light years away from the Milky Way. Named Swift J0230, it was spotted the moment it happened for the first time using a new tool developed by the scientists at the Neil Gehrels Swift Observatory. They rapidly scheduled further Swift observations of it, finding that instead of decaying away as expected, it would shine brightly for 7 to 10 days and then abruptly switch off, repeating this process roughly every 25 days. Similar behavior has been observed in what are termed quasi-periodic eruptions and periodic nuclear transients, where a star has material ripped away by a black hole as its orbit takes it close by, but they differ on how often they erupt and in whether it is in X-rays or optical light that the explosion is predominant. The regularity of Swift J0230's emissions fell between the two, suggesting that it forms the missing link between the two types of outbursts. Using the models proposed for these two classes of event as a guide, the scientists concluded that the Swift J0230 outburst represents a star of a similar size to our own sun in an elliptical orbit around a low-mass black hole at the center of its galaxy. As the star's orbit takes it close to the intense gravitational pull of the black hole, material equivalent to the mass of 3 Earths is wrenched from the atmosphere of the star and heated up as it falls into the black hole. The intense heat, around 2 million degrees Celsius, releases a huge amount of X-rays which were first picked up by the Swift satellite. Lead author Dr. Phil Evans of the University of Leicester School of Physics and Astronomy said, "This is the first time we've seen a star like our sun being repeatedly shredded and consumed by a low-mass black hole. So-called repeated partial tidal disruption events are themselves quite a new discovery and seem to fall into two types, those that outburst every few hours and those that outburst every year or so. This new system falls right into the gap between these, and when you run the numbers, you find the types of objects involved fall nicely into place too." Dr. Rob Iles-Ferris, who works with Dr. Evans on the Swift satellite, recently completed his PhD at Leicester, which included the study of stars being disrupted by black holes. He explains, "In most of the systems we've seen in the past, the star is completely destroyed. Swift J0230 is an exciting addition to the class of partially disrupted stars, as it shows us that the two classes of these objects already found are really connected, with our new system giving us the missing link." It's getting late. It's already 10:30, so that's most of the article, but I'll quit there. You can find it on ScienceDaily.com under Astronomy News. Back to net, this is WB50ZL.
Well, thank you, Brenda, and thank you for getting that article in just under the wire. This is KE5ICX. I'll take a final round of check-ins. If you'd like to join us or be counted for tonight's net, please come with your call sign, your name, where you're transmitting from.
This is Whiskey Bravo number 4, Mike Foxtrot, India, WB4MFI, Ted, Dallas, low power.
KI5COE recheck.
In Virginia, check.
Okay, well, I got a couple things here. I got WB4MFI, that's Ted in Dallas, he's low power. And there was, I've got the recheck there, that would be Tommy. I'll come back to you in just a second. There was a call that said Virginia. It might be Echolink. If you'd like to try one more time, I'll get you in. The Virginia call.
Yes, this is Kilo Yankee 4 Sierra Mike 254 SM Lawrence checking in.
Excellent, I got you that time. KY4SM Lawrence, welcome to the net and welcome to us through Echolink. All right, Tommy, KI5ZOE, go ahead, you had a question.
Actually, I have more information. So that's really good what Chaz was saying about which way Venus's poles are pointing. But I got the other piece of the puzzle comes from the IAU. Now, take it with a grain of salt because they also think Pluto should not be a planet. So you may have different thoughts on that. Anyway, they say there's something called an invariable plane, and it's based on the solar system's angular momentum. So I guess you have to know where everything in the solar system is and which way it's going to figure out exactly where that plane is. But that is the definition, and there is a north side and a south side. So on every planet, every body, if there's a pole that's on the north side of the invariable plane, then it would be on the north. And if the other pole is on the south side of the invariable plane, then it's the south pole. Now, there's another way of checking a pole. It's called the right-hand rule. And that doesn't determine north or south. It determines positive or negative. So they say that the planets, most of them have the positive pole is also the north pole, but there's two planets where the negative pole, based on the right-hand rule, is are the north poles. That's Venus and Uranus. So that's the final piece of the puzzle. Just want to let you guys know in case anybody else was curious. KI5ZOE.
Thank you, Tommy. Does anybody have any questions for Tommy? Okay, we'll go ahead and close it out. We got another net coming up. Thank you, everybody, for participating. We had 28 folks who checked in tonight. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration, because on this net, the sky is never the limit. We're going to say that. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all the DARC nets. If you'd like to try your hand at that, contact any of the net controls or send an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can also follow topics, discussion on net and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter as well. I guess it's X now, as well as our audio and video streams. video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to the club website, which is Whiskey5 Fried Chicken, W5FC.org, at the conclusion of this net. Till next Saturday night, this is Kilo Echo 5, and this is Charlie X-Ray Tom, and I'll be closing the net at 22:35 local time. 7-3, everybody, and enjoy the evening discovering the universe. And we will be back. We will be back in about 5 minutes to discuss the fantastically wonderful, well, we won't be discussing that movie, but we will be discussing Time Cop from 1994. So come on back in about 5 minutes. This is KE5ICX, and I'm clear for now. See you in 5. right, well, it is time to begin. This is KE5ICX. You thought you were done with me. You're wrong. The net control for tonight's Afterglow Movie Net. Tonight's movie is wonderfully something film. Let's see. You have visited multiple. No. Go away. Hold on. Getting some sort of stupid spam message on here. I was going to tell you about Time Cop, the movie. It is a 1994 science fiction action film directed by Mr. 2010 himself, Peter Hyams, and co-written by Michael Richardson and Mark Verheyen, or something. Richardson also served as executive producer. The film is based on Time Cop, a story created by Richardson, written by Vander Heiden, and drawn by Aaron Randall, which appeared as an anthology comic in Dark Horse Comics, published by the Dark Horse Comics people. Film remains Van Damme's highest-grossing film, his second to break the $100 million barrier for worldwide gross. As a lead actor, is generally regarded as one of Van Damme's better films by critics. I guess that's a matter of opinion. Okay, let me see here. I'm going to go ahead and read the plot. Everybody contemplate it. I have to read this because I didn't quite see the whole film. I fell asleep. And I'm KE5ICX. So here it goes. By 1994, the future, time travel has been developed and is used for illicit purposes. The Time Enforcement Commission, TEC, has been established to police the use of time travel. When Senator Aaron McComb overseeing operations, police officer Max Walker has been offered a position with TEC, but is unsure whether or not to accept. While at home with his wife, Melissa, he's attacked by unknown assailants. Oh, good. I'm getting little pop-ups here. I may not be able to read this. And you know what? This is almost impossible to read. It's got so many pop-ups and things. I don't know why they do this, because it makes it impossible to use. So I'm just going to skip it and move on, because literally this is almost impossible to read thanks to the stupidness of the website that actually provides this. So what I will do is go ahead and take check-ins from individuals who would like to join us this evening. You do not have to have seen Time Cop, but if you have, I need to know that too, so that I can ask you all these important questions, such as, what did you think of the plot? What did you think of the characterizations? And what did you think of the special effects? And what did you think of the, martial arts in the film? That sort of thing. So we'll do that. So I will go ahead and take check-ins. Please come with your call sign, your name, and did you see Time Cop? We'll start now.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Dallas. No, I have not seen the movie.
November Golf 5, Yankee, Allen in North Garland, and yes, I've seen the movie.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda in Dallas. Yes, I saw the movie and I stayed awake, so I saw the whole thing.
Kilo 0 Foxtrot Echo Romeo, this is Chris in Southeast Dallas, and yes, I watched the whole dang thing.
Whiskey 5, Bacon, Lettuce, Tomato, W5, BLT, Bill, Garland, yes.
Kilo India 5, Kilo Whiskey Golf, Cruise in Arlington, yes, saw it.
Okay, let me go ahead and get those checked in. Very enthusiastic check-ins. I got NT5TM, Tony in Dallas. No, he hasn't seen the film. I'm about ready to come over to your house and make you watch television because you haven't seen the last 3 or 4 movies. Bad, Tony. Bad, Tony. NG5Y, Alan in Garland. Yes, he saw the film. Good, Alan. WE5OZL, Brenda in Dallas. Good, Brenda. She did see the film. K0FER, Chris, Southeast Dallas. Yes, he saw the film. Good for him. W5BLT, Bill in Garland. Yes, he saw the film. And KF5KWG, Cruz in Arlington. Yes, he saw the film. Anyone else like to join us this evening? You don't have to have seen Time Cop, but it'll help. Please come with your call, your name, and did you see Time Cop? Okay, no problem. We'll go down the list. Tony, you hold in reserve. I'll come back to you and see if you're still awake, as well as, of course, would you see this film if you had the opportunity? Which you did, but you didn't. But would you, if you had the opportunity again, want to see it? So I'll start with Alan, NG5Y. Alan, what did you think about Time Cop? Specifically, the plot.
Well, there was an awful lot of high kicks and leg work, and as long as your time machine is working, you seem to have infinite tries at getting your correction in like you want it. So in that way, it's kind of predictable. But it's better than some of the other turkeys that y'all have subjected us to. I did not fall asleep in it, but it wasn't exactly an A-list movie in my opinion. As far as the plot goes, it's the old absolute power corrupts absolutely, and if you've got a time machine, you basically have absolute power. So that's it in a nutshell. Back to net, NG51.
Okie dokie. Well, that was very quick, but I have a feeling that might be how this plot plays out. Okay, Brenda, WB5OZL. Brenda, you saw the entire film. What did you think about the plot? And give me as many hints as you can, because I don't remember much about the film when I fell asleep.
This is WB5OZL. Well, I was very excited to see that time travel is just a lot simpler than I thought it was. You just got to build a rocket sled and aim it at the wall, and somehow you get to exactly where you want to go. I mean, down to the room, not just like on the same continent. So that's pretty exciting. I've grappled with this for a long time. How do you make a time machine, and how do you get it precise? Now, they didn't exactly explain the whole thing about how you get to where you're supposed to go, but I'm sure they have it all worked out. But I'm pretty excited because I am certainly ready to go time traveling. Was dismayed to learn that you can't travel in the future. Guess we'll just have to live with that, but traveling back to the past could be pretty exciting. Just remember to take some kind of a generator if you go back pre-electricity or something. So anyway, I didn't think the plot was terribly full of holes. Not for a time travel story. All time travel stories are full of holes. And you just have to accept, it is what it is. You can't make a time travel movie without suspending some kind of belief. So, Jean Dam is very watchable. He's quite good at what he does, and he can pretty much carry a show because he's so cool. Now, I enjoy martial arts movies. And this did not disappoint. He's pretty good at it. So, let's see. When we say plot, it actually is just a little bit hard to follow because it's time travel. You travel in time, and it's a little hard to figure out what's going on, but that's okay. It was still pretty enjoyable, and I think I'll just leave it with that. This is W50ZL.
It's thin on plot, huh? You're the second one with a thin plot explanation. But you enjoyed the film. Okay. Next up is Chris, K0FER. Chris, what did you think of the plot?
The thing that kept getting me is that they couldn't travel forward in time, but if they traveled back, then they could travel forward in time, back to where they were originally. That did not make any sense to me. Yeah, there was a lot of kicking. It seemed that Van Damme only likes to kick with his right foot, though. If you watch the film, it's always his right leg. I guess the left one's only good for splits. They showed how the scars were, just created on the older version of them. It would instantaneously appear on the newer version, but the newer version didn't seem to suffer from broken bones or a shattered spine from falling off the back of a roof or anything like that. There really wasn't much of a plot in this. It was shooting and martial arts hijinks with a side of science fiction. But, go into it expecting only that. It's not that bad. Is your FBR.
All right, thank you, Chris. And again, very thin plot description. Right leg kicks, left split. Okay, got it. Next is Bill, W5BLT. Bill, your thoughts on the plot to our fine film tonight, Time Cop from 1994. Or is it?
Okay, well, thanks. I'm trying to figure out why I enjoyed this movie. Probably because I didn't have trouble activating the link since you sent it to me, and I didn't have to fight with Facebook. It's kind of a typical, although it be a thin plot of, somebody invents time travel, and somebody tries to corrupt time travel and get the power for themselves, and then you have to go stop them from changing the future and killing people. And it was a little confusing at first, until I kind of figured out that people were themselves traveling back in time, but then they could violate the laws of meeting themselves, I guess, in back in time. There's a lot of plot holes or holes in it, I guess. If you just kind of suspend it, reality, which for me, time travel movies are about suspending reality. I'm not sure as a blind guy why I like the martial art films, but for some reason I do, even though I can't see them. So it's good to know that he was kicking with his right leg. The only thing I could figure is that, that's his predominant kicking leg, maybe. Anyway, so, I think this will move along pretty quick, but I don't know. I enjoyed it. My favorite line was, "I must be in ballet because I'm still kicking." For me, that was worth the whole, whatever it was, hour, 47 minutes, whatever it was, I forget now, because time just kind of flew. W5BLT, Bill, back to net control.
Another light plot There's not a lot of discussion about the time travel paradoxes of changing the character's demeanor, causing the evaporation of history and brainiac stuff happening. Just kind of martial arts, but a good martial arts movie that happens to have time travel. Just thinking about out loud while I fell asleep. Cruz, KI5KWG. Cruz, your thoughts on the plot to Time Cop from KE5ICX.
KI5KWG. Yeah, I wrote down it was a good enough film on a time travel story. Enjoyable action film with typical martial arts. Not a big martial arts fan. For films, I think a whole lot of that could really be solved by a good 357 on the side, but that's just me. Talking about the problematic aspects of it, yeah, all the time travel film stories have the same problems. And I'm not going to rehash all that. It'd be fun to talk about writing a good story, but not for this. The one that amused me is that you got this guy in a uniform wandering all over the hospital, going into patients' rooms, going into the lab, messing with samples. Nobody cares. But only when it serves the plot does it matter that he's not authorized to be in a room. And the nurse is screaming and the chasing ensues and all that. And I was like, oh, come on. He was just fondling the blood samples in a lab. So, like I said, I did credit. It was an enjoyable action film. But yeah, plot was shallow. They could have made this story about a dozen other things besides just time travel. That's a house blowing up and he's trying to save his wife. So, yeah, that's it. KI5KWG. Back to net.
Okay, thank you, Cruz. Yes, the martial arts film, that was pretty good. The time travel. Okay, that was kind of thin from you as well, but that's okay. I understand. Now, before I make my comments, which are all going to be even thinner than everybody else's on that particular part, I'm going to open it up for anybody who would like to join us. I forgot to ask Echolink, so if you're on Echolink and like to join, I'll give you extra time for that as well. My apologies. But anybody else who'd like to join us, please come with your call sign, your name. Did you see Time Cop? And even if you didn't, you can still check in.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth. Yes, I did see this film.
Golf 5, Bravo Zoo, Whiskey, J. Weber. Yes, I did see this film.
Okie dokie, we picked up two. I got KB9SOK, Sean over in Fort Worth. He did see the film, and Jay's back, KG5BZW in Weatherford. He too saw the film. All right, let's go ahead and continue with our discussion of plot with Sean, KB9SOK. Go ahead. What did you think of the plot? You must have tons of things to say about this highly elaborate and thought-provoking plot. Please illuminate us from KE5ICX.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Well, as everybody's already alluded to, it was a pretty simple plot. As far as time travel goes, this definitely was not a nosebleeder because it was very simple. It seems like about 90% of your time travel movies just basically revolve around somebody abusing it, going back in time, doing something bad, then somebody's going to go back and fix it and stop the bad guys. And this one was no different. Pretty straightforward plot. Didn't find it hard to follow. Typically, I enjoy time travel movies. This one I found kind of boring. I mean, it wasn't a horrible movie, but it just kind of, I don't know, it just kind of bored me. There was, as typically, there is a lot of plot holes. You know, one of the obvious ones was, you know, somebody already brought up to where, you know, they got cut on the face, and then the older version, the cut appeared, which makes no sense at all, because in the future, it would have been healed after 10 years. So that part made no sense. They did it strictly for visual effect. You know, now had the future self had a nice looking scar, that would have made much, much more sense. So yeah, that was kind of a bad plot hole there as far as the time travel. You know, as Cruz mentioned, the whole hospital scene made no sense. He walked in, flashed his badge. They let him see the victim of the shooting, which, you know, okay, maybe that makes some sense, letting an officer in. But yeah, yet when she hollers at him, he doesn't flash his badge again at her to say he was a cop. You know, that would have stopped her from getting upset. But instead, like Chris mentioned, it was just a plot, you know, it was just a plot hook to give him a reason to chase him. So once again, it didn't make much sense. And then this may be one of the worst methods of time travel I've seen to date. Not that we ever know how it could really be done, but it made no sense getting into a metal sled, then disappearing, then the sled disappears, and you just drop out of the sky, but then when you press the magic button, somehow you get back in the seated position, back in your reappear. You know, this was just, I know the sled was for visual effects. I'm sure they thought it was cool. You know, this was after the Back to the Futures. You know, obviously they wanted, they're kind of imitating, you got to be in motion to travel in time. But this was just so poorly done that the effect didn't work. They'd been better off just if somebody walked into a chamber and sent them, you know. And then my other issue with this is, you know, they're supposed to be these time cops cleaning up the mess of people tampering with time, but yet, you know, they go back in time, shoot up all these people, make this big mess, and just leave them there. You know, wouldn't that alter it? You know, you now got all these dead bodies that aren't explained. You know, when our opening sequence, you see the bad cop that went back in time to help the senator, and, you know, the good cop goes, you know, basically captures him, they take him, you know, for his trial, you know, and his trial, you know, sentenced to death for some reason, and then they literally just throw him back and have him follow the sky and land on the car. Well, they don't think that this guy magically appearing out of the sky out of nowhere is not going to cause a ripple or some kind of thing. And not to mention, you got a person from the future now died in the past. So yeah, they weren't particularly careful about this. And then too, just, you know, why did this group ever get formed? Because supposedly they're the only ones with time travel. So why would you need cops to police it? You know, towards the end, you know, one part of the plot twist was, you know, how are we going to go back? Because, you know, the senator had shut down the program. Or how did the senator go back? And they said, well, he has the prototype. Well, once again, who were they chasing? What other countries had this? You know, there's a lot of plot holes in this one. It just didn't make sense. And then even in the final sequences there, where, you know, yes, he does save himself and his wife, and, you know, the house blows up still, but yet 10 years later the house is back magically, even though it did still explode. And, okay, even if they did use insurance to rebuild it, the house still looked aged. It looked just like it did before. this thing had little tiny holes, and it was kind of easy to pick them out just because it was just a simple movie. And it really was just really about Claude Van Damme and karate is really what this was more about. He was very popular in that time frame. And, yeah, I do like, you know, some good karate movies. He's not one of my favorite in that era because he's just kind of a one-trick pony. And kind of gets boring after you see it once or twice. But all in all, it is watchable. So yeah, back to that, KV9S, okay.
All excellent points, Sean. Yes, the sloppiness of time travel is quite amazing in this film. But I'm going to save my comments from another version of time travel that I thought was absolutely absurd, and this movie lives up to that aspect. But I'll tell you that at the end when it's my turn. Jay, KG5BZW, Jay, welcome back. You saw the film. What did you think of the plot from KE5I6?
This is KG5BZW. Yeah, I don't know. When you had kind of turned your brain out to enjoy this film, which, I mean, I kind of knew that just because, you know, Van Damme and everything. But, I mean, I said that as like, you know, I wouldn't necessarily say that every type of, you know, kind of, so maybe if you want to call it martial arts film, would you turn your brain off? Because, I don't know, some of those dance arrangements with the Jackie Chan are worth, you know, worth, and, you know, second thought and third thought. And, well, but anyway, that's, you know, another time. Yeah, it really did not make much sense. The whole premise of it. I mean, I know I kind of had the idea why they went with this, just because, well, you know, like before, even in me trying to explain it, I think it just sounds stupid. But it's like a whole action of, well, okay, if this is something that can cause issue, why don't we police it? And then, boom, cop. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, it was strange. That was, I agree, it seemed like a allusion to Back to the Future, in a way. After all, I don't know, but then the craft still goes, and here it doesn't go, and then the back or whatever, I don't know. What did I enjoy about it? Yeah, I don't know, I didn't hate it, but I knew from the get-go, I knew that it didn't quite make much sense. It was kind of, like there was a nice unexpected twist with the I forgot her name, but the lady that went back in time with him, and you know, all that. Turning out she was a mobile, or she was working for the bad guy or whatever, and yeah, that's kind of interesting, but just the repercussions of all this that they just didn't take care of. Wow, yeah, it was just crazy. I wonder if this still works. I didn't know if I had. Hopefully, I guess I was still transmitting through echoing because I forgot that I need to turn that. Talking every few, whatever, maybe before it has to work. But anyway, hopefully most of that came through. Anything else? I can't really think of anything else because I think. Keeping an eye out, okay, said a lot of stuff I probably would have said, so, I'm just going to with that. This is KG5PCW, back to Happy Little Movie Net.
All right, thank you, Jay, and this is KE5ICX. Well, I'll go ahead and make my comments at this point. Because I only saw about a third of the movie and then fell asleep, I can't give you my thoughts on the ending. I did see all of the little things with going on. I agree with, I think it was Sean's comments about the fact that they were very sloppy about their whole interactions with people in the past to correct things, because it was very obvious that, you know, one of the guys came in, he had one of these future weapons, and we had machine guns during the Civil War, and all this stuff going on, and somehow or another, all of that violence ended up with absolutely nothing really changing very much, or sometimes it changed a little, but that was caused by the antagonist in the thing, in some way, shape, or form, altering history. But then when they went to correct it, all of the stuff that went on didn't seem to matter all that much. All of the additional collateral damage that went on didn't affect anything that happened, or at least in the sections that I saw. I found the TEC to be very, how we say, terrible at their enforcement capabilities. And it appears that they had more than just one or two people. Of course you would use a rocket sled. You know, you had a DeLorean, and so if it's a government project, we need something even fancier, and a rocket sled makes a lot of sense. So, sure, why not? What the heck? The only other agency that I can remember was this terrible was Project Tic-Tac from the Time Tunnel from, 1968. They, too, were a terrible organization with really dumb scientists who accidentally go back into time. And while you could take and pull every single person of history back into the time tunnel complex that's the time machine itself, the two scientists could never be brought back for whatever reason. They never did return, which is probably good. I would have left them and turned the whole thing off and gone home and never gone back to work, because they were dumb scientists. But they were busy. They didn't care. They'd change time. They would say, the Titanic's going to sink. The Halley's Comet's going to blow up. I know the history, and this is what's going to happen, and you need to know because people's lives are at risk, and then they're all going to die anyway because it's in the past. You know, you'll go forward in time, and it's over. Now, my question would be, with time travel, is that does time travel in real time when you're back in time? Because, you know, as we all know from Star Trek, you don't need that. They left and came back immediately, even though we had a whole episode that went on during that 1 hour. So you just left, and it's not the case. But let's see, what was I going to else say? I thought of something, and then it went away because I'm tired again. I did have 2 naps today, though. That helped, but I'm getting tired. Oh, well, I'll think of it eventually. So let's move on. Oh, I know what it was. Believe it or not, they made a television series out of this thing. I think it was only like 8 episodes long. And I'm looking here, and at least 2 of the episodes are available. I vaguely remember them. I watched, I think, 2 episodes myself. And they were reasonably entertaining. I think, if I remember correctly, they were actually a little better than the movie that I tried to watch. They were a little tighter because they're only an hour long. And it was on ABC a bazillion years ago. I think the last time I watched ABC was when that was on. Is that station still around, or the network? I don't know. Okay, I'm going to go to the top of the list, and I'm going to wake up Tony. Tony, this sounds like a movie right down your alley. What do you think? Is this one you would want to see? Time Cop from 1994.
Well, no. Aaron and I were, in fact, you did inspire us to have a good conversation about how, maybe, there's an art appreciation thing to each kind of movie. I don't really understand ballet, so I wouldn't watch a movie all about ballet. I don't really get into fight choreography and things, so a movie that was thin on plot and mostly about kicking just wouldn't get my attention. This did remind me that I actually need to go back and finish watching Electric Dreams. I'll probably do that tomorrow. But, nope, sorry, not a winner here for me. NT5TM.
Okay, well, that's a thumbs down for Tony, so he'll never watch this fine film. But the TV show is available in small 1-hour chunks. So it looks like episodes 1 and 2 Oh, and 3. I see episode 3 on here as well. Somebody's been uploading like mad. Mars. Okay, so let's move on to the next section, which is discussing the cast and characters. So we have a number of them. I don't know if any of them were really worth discussing, but they're there. Let's go ahead and start with Alan, NG5Y. What do you think? Did you like Agent Walker, Texas Ranger? I mean, Agent Max Walker? Did you like Melissa Walker? Did you like the Senator? Was he cool? Did you like Commander Matozak? Or Agent Fielding? Or Ricky? Or Zena Saad as the nurse? You tell us from KE5ICX.
Well, I think the heroine in the movie was, I best know her from, I think, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And my wife watched the movie also, and she said that one of the people that was in there was from the ER television series. I thought the main villain was well cast. I'm not really familiar with that actor, but he was a believable bad guy. I'm really not much for action fight movies, so I found Jean-Claude Van Damme's dancing around and kicking his legs up to be kind of distracting. I'm amused by that part of the movie, but that's about it as far as I have a review on it. NG5Y back to that.
All right, thank you, Alan. And you're right. She was in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, but I have a favorite actor that was in this that nobody knows what he was in. But anyway, Brenda, WB50ZL, what did you think of characterization on our fine film, Time Cop from 1994?
This is WB50ZL. Well, I don't really have any complaints about characterization. I feel about Jean-Claude Van Damme. He was quite good at it. I'm sure they probably wrote this with him in mind. And I think he did a pretty good job of acting. Not just a tough guy that goes and beats up the bad guys, but I think he had a range of, the softer side and the emotions and maybe a little less harsh than you see in a lot of martial arts movies. His wife, I know I've seen her before, but I don't really know who she is, but she was fine. And it was fairly typical in terms of, I'm your friend, no, I'm not, that kind of stuff. And, people getting greedy, and that is exactly what will happen if we ever have time travel. And the same fears about AI. Once it gets to be successful, the bad guys are going to use it to manipulate things and make robots do their bidding. And this was something like that. They said a line in the movie, maybe we put our energy into just stopping time travel. That's not a bad idea, because I just think people are so ambitious and greedy that they would subvert things and they would cause real panic and real problems. And you wouldn't get much of anything else done because of people traveling around. All right, back to net, WB50ZL.
Okay. Let's move on to Chris, K0FER. Chris, what did you think of characterization and the acting from KE5IC?
Oh, the acting is, well, we all know that Van Damme has the emotional range of a barbell, but the love interest is very clearly there to be pretty and naked, and the main villain, I got some Hans Gruber vibes from him. Obviously, he's not comparable to the immortal Alan Rickman, but, you know, kind of cut from the same cloth there. I think as far as the acting and characterization goes, everything else that was going on with the plot and the absurdity of it really got in the way, made everything else confusing. So, kind of didn't matter what they did. You could have had Sir Tony Hopkins up there and, yeah, lipstick on a pig. K0FER.
Okay, well, that's interesting. Let's see here. We got next is Bill, W5BLT. Bill, what did you think of characterization for Time Cop from 1994?
Well, I think, Jean-Claude Van Damme as Max did all right. It's more action-oriented. The interplay with the wife wanting to tell him, something, and he's got to go to work, and then the events happen. That kind of piqued my interest at the beginning, just trying to figure out what happened, and of course the bad guy, the senator, he's your typical bad guy that you don't like. I was thinking about why I liked this, and maybe it just sort of took me back to that time, where we didn't, we didn't have all the things that we have now that I won't call distractions, but there's so many things I can go watch now and apps and things like that. Movies like this with the characters, we looked for something to do, and so I think for the time this was written and maybe the characters, a lot of times we just look for something to pass the time. So I think for the characters, it's shallow, and they're shallow. There's not a lot of depth to them. But, as I think about time that I waste on X, formerly known as Twitter or, Facebook, there's not much substance sometimes to that either, but it's something that I pass the time. So, the characters, if there's something on TV and, that you could tolerate the characters for a couple hours. W5BLT.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. Yes, we had limited options back in the day, and now anything and everything is available, including episodes of Time Cop from ABC, right at my fingertips. Why? I don't know. I'm watching the Village People episode right now. Yeah, there's one. Let's see. Next up is Cruz, KI5KWG. Cruz, your thoughts on characterization for Time Cop?
KI5KWG. Last night, chatting about this, I made the comment that I have no idea what I'm going to say today because it's just such a shallow film. I think that really is the issue for me. Is there's no depth to it. I think that's basically what we all feel. A time travel film has such potential, and you want to hear some good theories and some interesting new things to be done with time travel, and there wasn't any of that. It was just so standard. It was more of the setting of a time travel story than it was a time travel story. Does that make sense? Okay. But this is characterization. First Van Damme movie I've ever seen. He was okay. It was good to see Mia Sarah again, Sloane from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and she was pretty much playing the same character, quiet, reserved, and pretty, and that was her job in Ferris Bueller, and it was her job in this, and probably who she is. Bruce McGill, I looked up the name. That was the director, and I liked him. I've seen him before. Seems like he's always playing a good cop. And so we saw him playing that part again here. And all the acting, I think all the main players were very adequate. Yeah, well, I guess that's it. KI5, KWG, back to net.
Oh my, we're just blowing through this really quick. Well, it's 11:30 though. I guess we're not that bad. But okay, next up is Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, your thought on characterization for Time Cop.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Yeah, I agree with everybody. What they said. Claude Van was pretty much playing himself, like he does in every movie. I don't think he's that good as far as like an actual actor. He just does the kicks, and he's passable as an action hero. In the 80s and 90s, we had lots and lots of, action movies because, as already mentioned, you basically had 4 TV channels. And an action movie almost always brought people to the theater, during the summer, and I'm sure they were turning out these action movies left and right in that time frame, and a lot of them were just subpar, and this one just falls into that category. I think it's interesting that you brought up the TV series, because I do vaguely remember that as well. In fact, when I first saw the email from you about Time Cop, I actually had the plot twisted from the TV series. I was expecting something different. When I started playing it, I realized it was the movie. Then I kind of I had seen this movie once before. I think it was on TBS or USA or one of those years ago. And I pretty much forgot about 95% of the plot because it was that interesting. And the plot I remembered was from the TV series. So I was totally expecting something different. So it's kind of funny. I kind of agree. I do think the TV series was a little stronger than the movie. But once again, I don't remember the all 8 episodes of it either. I think it's just the pilot that I remembered. But yeah, back to this movie. I guess as an action hero, it was, I guess, okay. Yeah, his wife, obviously famous for Ferris Bueller. She's done a few other bit parts here and there over the years, and she always plays the same part. And it's passable. She did okay. The part I was more amazed about was, the scene there at the end where they're doing all the fighting, and she's outside climbing on a wet roof, sliding up and down it, and her rope magically just stayed on the whole time during all that. She's being thrown around and everything else. I thought that was quite impressive. But, and then, the bad guy, he's, I didn't look him up, but I have seen him in some other TV shows from that era. I don't think he did a lot of movies. But, he was okay as a bad guy. He might have been kind of one of the better actors in this, probably, I guess, as a bad guy. We've seen the Chief. He's been in a lot of bit parts over the years. And he was okay. It's not, that's pretty much all I can say about all the acting. This was just okay. Nothing's going to blow you away, nothing memorable. As I said, I only remembered a very tiny portion of this from years ago, so obviously it didn't stick with me. So, anyway, that's all I got for that. Back to that. KB9SOK.
All right, very good. Thank you, Sean. Next up is Jay, KG5BZW. Jay, your thoughts on characterization and the acting from KE5ICX.
This is KG5BZW. You know, I got to thinking, we can, hate on Jean-Claude Van Damme for his, lack of acting, ability or whatever, but, no, I didn't really have enough time. Well, maybe if I actually kind of prepared for this net, I could have looked up some trivia or whatnot, but to see if it really was the case that, they realized that their plot was kind of, well, let's just say it kind of needed something, and, to have someone that has some, martial arts capability, to do some impressive stuff, I'll let it be said that, without what Jean-Claude Van Damme brought to the film, I don't know. I mean, yes, no, like the bad guy, he did a pretty good job at acting as a bad guy, but as far as entertainment goes, there's not much for the film to do, and so, to have somebody that can do, the split thing over, to avoid the electrocution, even though that didn't electrically make sense, but let me learn if we go there. All much more enjoyable, and by enjoyable, I mean you don't really hate it. It's like, it gets it away from the, oh God, this is so awful territory to you. It's like, okay, it's a film, whatever. That's my feeling. I don't know. I'm sure others may disagree with that, but and it's not like the other actors or anything did terrible. Actually, besides Jean-Claude Van Damme, I thought most actors did decently, I guess. What they had, I was it wrong? Well, the bad guy. Did a pretty decent job, but like the police chief, he portrayed the character was likable. The wife was, she was the love interest as you would expect a love interest to be, and all that. But without something, this movie did not need martial arts, yet they added it, and it made it okay. That's I guess my two cents. And I'll just leave it at that. KG5HW.
All right, thank you, Jay. Let's see, next up, well, we're at the bottom of the list. Let me go ahead and ask if there are any additional check-ins. Anybody else like to join us? Please come with your call sign, your name. Did you see our fine film for this evening, Time Cop from 1994? Crickets. Okay, well, my comments here. What can I say? They say that Jean-Claude Van Damme, this is probably, I guess, one of the reviews, that it was one of his classiest performance as an actor, in that he came off convincing, I guess, and he kind of was. From the parts that I saw of the film, he was okay. He was surrounded by some good actors. Ron Silver was a popular actor, character actor back at that time. He also had a recurring character on West Wing, so is known there as well. He's a reasonably good actor, so that kept things rolling along. Bruce McGill, I recognized him from his days on, briefly, he was on 2 episodes of Babylon 5 and a pivotal role in both episodes. In fact, one of them won a Hugo with him in it because it was that good. So it's very memorable as it's a repeat one that I've seen many times. So it was nice seeing him playing, as somebody says, a good cop or commander in the thing. The rest of them, okay, serviceable, I guess. Nothing exciting to report. I guess some of the bad guys were bad guys, and that was fine and dandy, but I don't know. When you have lightweight material, your acting does have to stand up a little better if possible to whatever the lightweight material is, and I think it was that. So I don't know. Maybe Peter Hyams was able to get something out of him as well. He's not bad. His choices for movies to direct are sometimes bizarro, but generally he does a pretty serviceable job on movies. Maybe not always A-list, A+, but he generally turns in an above-average movie overall, given the materials that he's got. I don't have anything on anybody else because I really couldn't remember anything. So let's do this. We'll take another round here. This may go fast, or it may not. Special effects or anything we have forgotten along the way. So let's go ahead and start with Alan, NG5. Alan, you got anything you want to add? Anything on special effects, music, or something you forgot about that you now remember about the film that you know we need to hear? Go ahead, from KE5ICX. Okay, Alan has either wandered away or fallen asleep. Either way, I fully empathize. Next up is Brenda, WB50ZL. Brenda, your thoughts? Same thing. Ditto from KE5ICX.
Okay, this is Brenda, WB50ZL. I like the music. Okay, it was fine. So far as special effects, there really wasn't much. How do you make time travel look believable? Anything you do is believable, because who knows what it looks like? We don't, well, I don't think we have it. Who knows? But the martial arts fighting was definitely a big part of the special effects. And they did a good job of it. They've got this recipe down pretty well. I think they made a number 2 of this movie. Maybe we ought to watch it. Who knows? So, boy, we have sure seen a lot of time travel movies. Have we not? My favorite, though, is Primer, where you just climbed into a cardboard box, and when you came out, time had passed. And it was really weird. But this is kind of a straightforward one. Paradoxes, time travel paradoxes are definitely there. The question is, can you go kill your grandfather? One theory is you could, and it changes everything. Another is that it wouldn't matter what you tried, you couldn't, because you didn't, which is pretty weird. This was limited to just a select few people. What would have kept other people from making their own time machines and everybody doing it? Just a thought, what would that look like? Would be pretty chaotic for sure. But you have to question, would you want to somehow regulate it? Could you regulate it? How do you keep bad guys from behaving? You don't. And just like now, you can't have a cop on every corner. That's why we have a lot of crime. You can't, because of the time dimension. And it's kind of a scary thought to think of people could do this that had evil intentions, the opportunity for misusing this technology is enormous, and that might make an interesting other movie. Is what if everybody had time travel? What would we be doing with it? All right, back to net, WB50ZL.
Okay, thank you, Brenda. Next, Chris, K0FDR. Your thoughts on special effects or music or anything you may have missed on the first two rounds? Go ahead, from KE5ICX. Okay, we lost another. That's okay, Chris. I understand. W5BLT. Bill, your final comments. I know you probably got something. Special effects, music, anything you want from KE5ICX.
W5BLT. Now I'm eating ice cream and brownie. I don't have a whole lot. Eagerly awaiting the next movie. W5BLT.
Hey, that reminds me, I was promised ice cream and it was not delivered at 10:30, so maybe I'll go do that right after this if I can stay awake. Next up, Cruz, KI5KWG. Cruz, what do you got? Special effects, music, some other rant, words of wisdom? You know the drill. Go ahead from KE5ICX.
KI5KWG. I didn't notice the music, but that's typical for me. Well, I say that, and I really loved the, what was it, Karen Souza song that closed out last week's film, Zero Theorem, and I've got it queued up right now to hear her 50 favorite covers. So I noticed the music that week, but didn't notice it here. Special effects were mostly pretty good. I mean, that was a really good building blowing up. That was good. I like that. But the time travel car, the sled, I said it last night too on the chat session, but I wrote it in my notes here, is the 1960s Batmobile sitcom. I mean, in the sitcom, it was fantastic startup sequence. This thing was sparklers from a 4th of July fireworks stand taped to the back of the sled. It was awful, and it was pointless. It was like, you should have just left out the rocket motor on the back of it. Just let it be electric powered. It was very distracting. It was very poor, and it was funny to me. Really the most interesting thing I've got to say to y'all right now is I found out about Tabasco sauce chipotle, smoked chipotle today. I'm holding the bottle in my hand, thinking, what can I put it on as a midnight snack? This stuff's great. Never heard of it, didn't know it existed till yesterday, and it's great. Anyway, so there's my tip. That makes this all worthwhile. Anybody will try it. I'm tired. KI5KWG. Back to that.
Oh, I've got that stuff here too. I don't even buy the regular Tabasco. I get the Chipotle super hot stuff, Tabasco sauce that they make, and it's very, very good. It's got that bright orange. So you'll enjoy it, no doubt about it. Next up is Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, your parting words, your suggestions, things about the film that you would like us to know about, that we need to know about, that will save it from itself, from KE5ICX.
Yeah, KB9SOK. Yeah, I don't have any food tips. Between Tom's ice cream, making me want to have ice cream, to the Cruise's hot sauce, now I want to go buy some hot sauce. I don't have any tips in that area, but Yeah, as everybody's already mentioned, and especially Cruise had the exact same comment I was going to make. That rocket on the back of that sled was so ridiculous that it didn't need it, and the sled was probably the worst thing in it. You know, it looked like it was kind of cardboard painted, and it looked flimsy as they tried to slide it down the track, and it was just, yeah, it's completely unnecessary and just really, really poorly done. Yeah, the explosion probably was the best effect in this movie. The ending sequence there where they had the when the bad guy combined his old self and new self, touched each other, and they melted into a pool of goo. You could tell that was CG from the early days, and it looked rough. And it was right up there at the rocket sled as some really, really poor stuff, you know. Once again, it didn't cause any, you know, rips in time or anything. They just melted. So, yeah, that was interesting. And yeah, that was really about it for the special effects. That was pretty much the whole thing. I mean, they had the self-driving cars, which I think would have, you know, we didn't have in 1994. You know, had they invented time travel, how did they magically invent driving cars at that time? And you know, how was it even legal then? And you know, and apparently only people that were time cops had them. So I would have thought that kind of made them stick out, but so that was kind of interesting. I'm not sure why they threw that in there either, because it really had no impact on the plot either. So that was strange. Yeah, this was just a, you know, yeah, was it watchable? It was watchable. Would I recommend it? Probably not. You know, I'm sure it would have been more entertaining watching it back in '94. But yeah, well, as usual, we're always looking forward to the next one. If I find out the worst movie we watched, but it's definitely not going to make the top ranks either. So, fun as always. Back to net, KB9SOK.
Okay, thank you, Sean. Next is Jay, KG5BZWJ. Your parting comments, your thoughts. What do you think about Time Cop from KE5IC?
KG5BZW. Yeah, that's lit. Oh, goodness. My first reaction to seeing it actually being utilized was like, why is there so much friction on the track that produces so much spark? Should you be eliminating that type of thing? So yeah, those is just besides the whole. I mean, the whole ridiculousness of the contraption itself. Yeah, that's just how they just really silly. Yeah, it's I don't know. That was just the strangest effect. Let's see. The only, besides, you know, actual fight scenes and whatnot, which are also kind of, you know, you know, I would, well, I mean, sometimes that often does fall under special effects, but I mean, you can still tell it kind of had that whole. It was better than some of the really older films where, you know, I don't know, someone, I can't even describe how bad some older movies were with their fight scenes. I'd say movies these days are a lot better than this. Although, I don't know, movie fight scenes in general always have a certain bit of lack of realism, if to be truth be told, because of various reasons. To get into that, I'm not really prepared to do that now. But I mean, for the time, I guess is you know, compared to some things I've seen, it's not terrible. It's definitely better than that. I mean, with Doug Clutch and his thing, you know, we've already discussed that. cars, the headless or windshieldless cars were kind of interesting. Not that this is the first time somebody had proposed anything like that for a movie, or use that. It wasn't that really that well. It just looked very classic-y. But I mean, the inside actually looked more impressive than the outside. The inside was kind of cool. I did like some of the shots they did inside the house, the widescreen and whatnot. Hey, we don't have the 16 by 9. I mean, we don't have what was the ratio, 5:4, 16 by 9. Anyway, we got 16 by 9 or whatever now, and whatever. Blah blah blah. And it's interesting having a tape from there. Well, I don't know, whatever. I'm kind of rambling here. I can't think of anything else. Yeah, first time the computer effects were okay. Passably okay. It did look really cheesy. I'm pretty sure it will look cheesy then, but it still, it was better than some things ago. I don't know. As far as being new, maybe it was interesting. I don't know. I don't have anything else to say. I'm kind of got off the rails myself here. So I'll just I'll hand it back next roll. KC5EZW. Thank you, Matt.
Okay, thank you, Jay. Let me see. I will ask if there are any final check-ins this evening before I give my comments, which will be very short. But if you'd like to join us, please come with your call sign name. Did you see our fine film, Time Cop? Well, I thought for sure Ron would show up, but he may be listening, or he may not be listening. I got nothing to add as far as special effects are concerned. Just comparing against the TV series, I think the TV series actually has it a little better off, special effects-wise, although even still for TV, it's still a relatively low budget. But if you want to see a better executed version of this idea or concept, then watch. There's at least 3 episodes of the 7 that were shown available on YouTube. You can check them out. Number 2 is my favorite of what I remember, The Heist. But it's got William Dafoe in it, so you might find that interesting. He's pretty darn good, or was pretty good darn. I think he's dead now. But William Dafoe was very good in it. Other things, music, Mark Isham, he did music for a bunch of movies, usually like art house type films and that. This score was fairly serviceable. I think he's done much better stuff. In fact, some of this finest stuff is from Earth to the Moon, the television series about the Apollo program. Now, there were a lot of different people that did music on that, so you'll have to seek him out, but I don't remember which episodes. He did 2 episodes, and they were fairly good, if I remember correctly. Other stuff, I don't have anything else to add, to be honest with you. Wish I did, because I didn't really see a lot of the film, so I don't have a lot of comments this evening. So I'm going to tell you about next week's film. Now, remember, anytime you've got an idea for a film and you know where it's available that we can watch it, let me know. And I just put stuff up in the list so we have something for each week. Brenda suggests a lot of them. In fact, all of the bad ones she suggests. But if you've got something out there that you're burning to see, it may have been one we've seen in a while, but there's nothing wrong with that. A good movie is worth reviewing, so we'll do those again. But here you go. Next week's movie is from 2005 called Absolute Zero. David Koch was a climatologist, and everyone hated him. Weather forecasters, weather people on TV, even the National Weather Service thought he was a first-class jerk. It was then when he discovered that the Earth's axis was shifting and causing Miami to have a white Christmas that everyone really, really disliked him. Even the unlikable Jetstream guy, who had no friends of his own, even stopped answering Koch's calls that things were looking, well, pretty bad. I will send the link out, and remember, it's also available on Afterglow Movie, Afterglow and Movie, 2 words. Everybody here, I think, is already on the mailing list. If you're not, let me know. Send an email to me, KE5ICX, Kilo Echo 5 India, Charlie X-Ray at yahoo.com, and I will send you the links to the movies and where they're available. That'll happen probably sometime tomorrow morning. I'm not sure exactly when, but I will get them out. Okay, with that, I'm going to say good night. I may watch, by the way, tonight Lost in Space has recycled back to the first episode. First episode will be on. I haven't seen it. It's actually pretty good. The Stowaway is the name of the episode. See y'all later. This is KE5ICX. I'm now clear.